Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing my VCT America's Stage 2 power rankings. Going to be going through all 12 teams and ranking them how I think they stack up at the beginning of Stage 2 and how kind of I think they'll finish in terms of their record and being able to make champs. If you guys enjoy, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Really helps me out. As well as go checking out my Twitter, link is in the description, where I'll tweet out like my live reactions to either games going on currently, roster moves, or other stuff happening in the Valorant scene, like patch notes and stuff like that. As well as I do weekly player rankings on there. I just posted mine for the beginning of Stage 2, whether it be America's, EMEA, or Pacific. I posted all of those. They're all live on my Twitter. If you're interested in that, go check that out. And those will be updated literally every week throughout Stage 2. So uh, go check that out, as well as my Twitch. Link is also in the description. I stream on there a decent amount. I'm not like the biggest like fan of streaming, but it is fun sometimes, and I have been doing it whether it be like VOD reviews, like playing ranks, playing Minecraft, something like that, or what I just did was I did my top 10 players in the world in every role rankings. So like it's very similar to the player rankings that I posted on Twitter, except it's for the world. So if you're interested in that, you can go check that out. That VOD should be under the live tab on my channel. So go check that out after you're done watching this video. One other thing before we get into this video, I did want to mention that I do a rebuild series at the end of the year where I go through all of the VCT teams in America's, EMEA, and Pacific and rebuild them with the roster moves that I see fit. And as teams start getting eliminated here, I will be doing one rebuild from each region before champs, and then after that it will be every single team. So I'll be posting, I think I'll post some kind of like poll on Twitter, maybe on like my channel here. I don't know if it's the community tab or what it's called, but I might post something on there, and then depending what I get, like what the highest ranking one is, I'll probably do that team just as I did last year. But without further ado, let's get right into it. All right. So we'll start with this bottom tier, which is the relegation zone. Teams that I think, based on their performance so far this year, deserve to be relegated, and teams that I think have a very, very low chance at making playoffs. And that starts with Furia and 2G. Honestly, I'm just going to talk about both of them together because they're both Brazilian teams. 2G bringing back Spike, Furia doing like an entire roster overhaul that I don't have much belief in. I gotta pull up the roster tracker from Sheep Esports because that's actually very helpful for keeping track of this. So yeah, 2G bringing back Spike and Prize back into the team. So now it's their same roster from Ascension, but with Gobera instead of Zap. I don't really know what to think of them, honestly. They are a very weird team where like there is some promising talent on this team, like Spike. I think will be really good for this team, and I think Silence has had some nice moments. LZ has had some nice moments, specifically as an IGL. And this team did get better throughout last split, but they're kind of resetting a little bit of that progress, I'm assuming. I don't really know how good that they're actually going to be. I think they'll show some stuff. I think Spike will definitely show some flashes, maybe get himself a tier 1 spot for next year. But overall, that's about all the belief I have in this team. And then Furia, I am not the biggest fan of this new roster. I do like Paula. I do like Tui's. I think both of them are very, very solid players and will be pretty good for this team. I mean, Paula, when he was in tier 1 last time on MIBR, was not very good. And he's going to be on another really bad team here, which I think was part of the reason why he wasn't very good. But overall, like, I like him. I think he has potential to be a good tier 1 player. Tui's, I mean, he'll be solid. Like, I don't really think he'll be bad for this team. But Basic and Urango, I don't know. Like, Basic is fine. Like, he'll be their flash initiator player. Urango will play and like scan initiator and be their IGL. I wasn't particularly impressed with either of them. I thought Basic was okay. Like, I'd heard of him, watched him a little bit. But Urango, I think as an individual, wasn't very good, and the teams that he played for also were not very good in tier 2 anyway. And then Heat is going to still be on Sentinel, which I think he was genuinely one of the worst Sentinels in VCT. when he was playing it. Now, if he was playing Flash or Scan Initiator here for this team, any kind of initiator, I would like it, but he is not. So I think overall Furia does have the worst roster. Maybe they have a few nice names in there, but 2G I think should be overall the better team out of these guys. But I highly, highly doubt either of these teams are going to win more than one game in the split. Maybe one of them gets a win over some of these like other teams in like an upset, but neither of them are making playoffs. Now, onto the next tier of teams that I think have quite a bit of potential for this next split. I think teams that you could realistically see punching up and getting into maybe this good teams tier and being like legit playoff teams and contenders to make champions. But for right now, I don't fully believe in really any of these rosters right now until they actually show me something. And that will start with Loud. A lot of people ranking this team in that like upper echelon of teams that could make champions. And it's like, I just don't see it. Like, yeah, they went 0-5. This team is not 2023 Crew. They're just not going to do it. Like, they had a bunch of close games against Crew, against 100 Thieves, against Sen, against EG. But also, they lost all of those games, and they lost to 2G. So, I don't know. Like, I like the roster. I think Luke Show's good. I think Pancada's good. I think Verti's very good. And I think Cowanzine should be better than he was in stage 1. And I think Robbie BK will be a good player on this team. I don't know if he's going to be IGLing or not. I don't know. I'm pretty sure this team is speaking English. It's gonna be a very weird roster. I don't know how the language translate, or I don't know, maybe not translation, but like switch to English for the team is gonna really work. With players like Pancada who have very like it's been very documented how much he struggled on Sentinels with being able to speak English. I don't fully believe in this team the way everybody else does. Now, could I see them being a very good team heading into this next split? Yes, I absolutely could see them being good, but I don't think you can rank them like top 4 in the region yet until you actually see them, I don't know, win a game this year. Like, I think Loud won one kickoff game, maybe. Okay, they won two. Oh, yeah, they did win 2 kickoff games. They were good at kickoff with BG and whatnot for a little bit. But then after they beat EG and Crew, who did not know, like, they didn't have a default on Haven. Like, I don't know, man. Like, they just fell off. So, I mean, I guess they did. They did play Sen really close, and that was a good game. But yeah, I'm just not a believer in Loud this split, as much as most people are. Then I have Lev, who this will be a little bit more of a positive conversation. I just don't think this team is really going to go anywhere. They still have 3 really good players in King, Com, and Tex, and I really like Sato coming in here. I don't know as much about Okeanos. I do like him. It's just I haven't watched a ton of him. Whereas Sato, like I watched quite a bit last year. I watched like a game this year, and he is still a very good duelist player in my opinion. So he'll be good. I think getting King back to IGLing is going to be very good for this team. I think Calm should be better than he was in Split 1. I think Tex should be better than he was in Split 1. And I think this team will be better. I honestly think this team has the highest floor out of these 3 teams in this lots of potential tier. I think that's what a lot of their moves were to do, is raise the floor, kind of get everybody on a set roll, and then figure everything else out after. Maybe try to get into playoffs, get into champs potentially, and see if you can kind of recoup a little bit of the potential that the original roster heading into 2024 had. Then I have NRG. I think they're the epitome of this tier. This team, this roster is very good. I very, very much like this NRG roster. But I've said that for this whole season, and they have not shown anything. Mata, we've seen, is very good. Sam, we've seen, is very good. Ethan, I think, has been better individually, but like you just need him to not be playing like the Yoru on Pearl. That's just not what he's good at. Um, and I don't know. He's just not like a duelist player. You need to have him playing more flash initiator stuff. Maybe even some scan initiator here and there. I think would be good for this team. Maybe a little bit of omen here and there, depending. But he's IGLing, so I don't want him to flex around too much. Um, and I mean, Brock is pretty good. He was kind of up and down throughout split one. If that, he was probably worse than I'm describing. And then you're bringing in Scuba here for FNS, which I think a lot of this team's issue was firepower, and that is a massive upgrade. Like I can't underestimate how big of an upgrade that is. Um, Not exactly sure. Like they there's Energy's played some like off-season tournaments between stage one and stage two. And Sam and Scuba have been kind of switching between Senti and Smokes. I'm not really sure exactly what's going to end up on there, but I think either way it'll be good between those two. My issues with this team do just come down to Ethan IGLing. If he can figure it out, this team can figure it out. But all has to do with that pretty much. And I think Bonkar coming back in will be a big help for the team. And overall, like, there is just a lot of potential here. A lot of players that I like on this team, a lot of players that I think are good. They just got to show it and be a good team this split. Now into this tier of basically one of these teams has to make champs. I mean, I don't think they have to because maybe one of these teams in the lots of potential tier could come up, but one of these teams is going to probably make champs. Maybe an MIBR falls off or something like that. I'll give you a spoiler, they're not in this tier. But we have Crew starting off here, which, I mean, I'll look up the champions points. VCT champions points 2025. I would imagine they're up there. Yeah, they are in the driver's seat for this slot, but I do think that they are the worst team out of all of them. They had a good regular season, as Crew does, and then during the playoffs, they completely shit themselves. Like, yeah, they were good against Loud. I mean, they were terrible against Loud, actually. That's a complete lie. But they were good against Sentinels. They were, I thought, good against 2G. They shit the bed against EG. They were good against 100 Thieves. But then they absolutely shit the bed against MIBR and then EG in playoffs as well. They don't make any changes to the roster. I don't think they really needed to. I'm not going to lie. But until this team like does something in a playoff outside of getting like fourth and then bombing out, or third, like exactly what they need to make champs and then bombing out, I'm just not believing in them past like maybe just outside of the like top half of Americas. Like they'll be in that like 5th to 7th range depending on it until they prove otherwise. Like I like Kesnet. I think he's good. He had a really bad split. I think Mizzino and Shy are pretty good players. Adverso's a pretty good IGL. And Melzer's fine. Overall, this team is just not maybe as good as their roster suggests, or maybe as good as some of their results suggest. And I think similar to that, Cloud9 is next. And I mean, I have the exact same take on Cloud9 until they prove otherwise, until they prove that they can do something during playoffs. They are not escaping this 5th to 7th range in Americas, unless like maybe some like the two teams ahead of them completely shit the bed, and I literally cannot leave C9 above them or below them. Like maybe they'll get into like 4th, but like they're not surpassing the top 2, maybe 3 in Americas, and yeah, they just need to prove that they're not. I don't want to say chokers, but like I mean, that's what they are doing during playoffs. Like, this is the best C9 roster we've had in a while. Oxy's good. I think Zeppa's better than he's ever been. He's more flexible than he's ever been. He's actually able to play some of the scan initiators for this team, which I am very, very, very much a fan of. You have Vic, who I think is really good. If I mentioned Net, I don't think I did, but he's pretty good for this team. And Mitch is the best IGL they've had in a while as well. So I do believe in this team. It's just they have to show it before I rank them higher than, as I said, like around 5th. Then we have 100 Thieves, who is a also very similar conversation, but at least they like have shown some nice things during playoffs. Like they are just the same team during playoffs and whatnot, that they are during the regular season. They had a okay regular season. They were close against Sentinels as they always are. I guess 1-2, but like the split wasn't close. The other two maps though, they destroyed them on Pearl and then had a relatively close map. Wait, no, they got destroyed on Pearl. Why would I ever think that they would win that in hindsight? Even in hindsight, like that's just a terrible like misread. They're just really bad on Pearl, and Sentinels was really good. But regardless, they had a relatively close game against Sentinels. They beat EG, Loud, 2G, and then lose to Crew in the last week of the regular season. Then they lose to MIBR, who was pretty good, beat a terrible NRG team, and then almost beat G2. Not giving them props for almost beating teams and whatnot. But I just think overall, from what we've seen from this team, they have the most room to improve throughout all of these teams, and I think don't completely shut down the second the playoffs come around. I think this team has a decent chance of making champs. I wouldn't favor them for it because I do think there are a lot of issues with this team, but overall, I believe in them more than maybe Cloud9. Or actually, no, I believe in Cloud9 more, but my brain tells me that 100 Thieves have a higher chance of making champs just because of history with Cloud9. Then I have EG, moving up 5 spots from where they were in my pre-playoffs power ranking, I believe. Or no, it was pre-week 5 uh, power ranking. So, I mean, they had a great run during playoffs. They start in the lower bracket, I believe. Yeah, they started in the lower bracket after barely sneaking in, after beating Loud in the final week of the season. They beat 2G as well, two teams that were really bad, and then Crew, who just decided to turn off their monitors the week that they played EG. But during playoffs, they did beat Cloud9 and Crew, two teams who have notoriously been playoff chokers. I think there is something there with that, with like maybe EG aren't that great because they kind of just went on a run of beating two teams that were not good during playoffs. But also, they looked a lot better. Ye looked to be back. Icy looked to be very, like, in very good form. Superman was playing really well. I thought Derek was playing okay. It wasn't like peak Derek or anything. Um, but Nature also playing pretty well individually and calling a great game. And I think the main reason people are optimistic about the CG team is this game against G2 that they did almost win, like genuinely almost win. It was 13-11 on Pearl. They played Split. They kind of got destroyed on that map, whatever. But they did beat G2 on Lotus. I think they were the first team to beat G2 on Lotus during stage 2 or during stage 1. So that was a big feat in and of itself. I just think this EG team has so much more room to grow than these other three teams in stage or in this tier, which is a good thing. Like they have a lot higher of a ceiling. I mean, maybe not a higher ceiling than like 100 Thieves, because I think 100 Thieves, if all 5 individuals are hitting, they are better than EG. But also, I think they have a more realistic ceiling than 100 Thieves does as well. So they are my number 4 team. I think they are the favorites, in my opinion, are like the team that I favor to make champs in that 4th slot behind G2 Sentinels and MIBR. But just time will tell with them just to see if they continue on that momentum that they had from playoffs. All right, now onto good teams and the top teams tier, which we only have 3 teams left, so I'll go through both these tiers at the same time. We'll start with MIBR, who did have a really good split 1. That was, you cannot deny that. Their regular season and like just overall stage 1 was good. They beat Lev, lost to G2 in a very close game. They beat C9, who was playing really well. They beat NRG, and they beat Furia, who they decided not to try for that game for whatever reason. Then playoffs come around. They beat 100 Thieves. They beat Crew. But then they lose to Sentinels. They lose to G2 in 2 games that are not very close. And then they get absolutely smoked at Toronto, with Aspas having one of his worst tournaments ever. And I think going back to like the first game of stage one, even like this split game specifically that they played against Leviathan, I think Aspas has had one of his worst, like, what was this, March? So, like, going back to March, he's had some of his worst, like, 3 months uh, ever as, like, a tier one player. Like, going back to, like, when he joined Loud, which was when I started paying attention to him. Like, this is probably his worst stretch of games. If he doesn't come back, this team will not be good. And that's not saying that they don't have other players on this roster because he wasn't particularly great during like I don't know, this like I mean the whole regular season. I don't think he was like taking over games or anything in my opinion. Like you had Cortasia playing really well. You had Shenum playing really well. Artscene was playing well. Verno was playing well. And he didn't really need to perform as much, but when you got to that international level, he definitely needed to, especially with how like kind of nervy some of these players looked, like Cortasia and Genom and Artscene. I think all looked a little off from where they were. Even during playoffs, I think they looked off. So you're going to need to see this team bounce back mentally, and you're going to need to see them be able to perform at an international level, which I think getting that experience was very valuable for them. But with some of the reactions to this stuff, like the skipping the press conference and whatnot, I am a little bit afraid of this team kind of imploding and whatnot. So take with that what you will. I still think they'll make champs, but it is a little bit concerning. Then I have Sentinels. Honestly, there's really not much to say about Sentinels. They are a good team that does a lot of good stuff, and they had a good run during Toronto. They beat the three Chinese teams, which is like, yeah, sure. Like Wolves playing poorly, Billy played poorly. They beat Jai Li playing poorly, or G Lai, sorry, or XLG, whatever. I read out the thing that was on my screen. Then they lose to Paper X in a they got destroyed. They they got destroyed on Split, and then Sunset was close, but they got destroyed that game. And then had a genuinely close game against Fnatic. I think this team's fine. They don't have a ton of upside. Was that I mean, this was literally the concern I had with them going into the year was like the upside on this team, even though they have some really good individual players in Zekin and Bang. I think some of the role flexibility, weirdness, and stuff like that is just going to limit their ceiling. And it has. They'll be a top team in Americas, but I don't think they'll really get past like the top four of an international event, in my opinion, especially when these international events are so stacked as they have been. I don't really see Sentinels making it through past that stage. Now they'll probably make playoffs at champs. I don't really see this team doing poorly during split two or anything like that. And I think they'll probably stay in this top teams tier. It's just I think this team really needs to like have a huge like really really good meta read or like a insanely good map pool, like have like an EG fracture-esque map along with maybe like one other really really good map as well, to maybe make a run through champs or something like that. But overall, I'm not the biggest fan of Sentinels at this point, or like the biggest believer in Sentinels to go super deep at international. Then G2, honestly, I don't really have too much to say on G2. Like, they came into Toronto with a kind of poor read on the meta. They're trying to just play Fade and Sova instead of Teo in their comps. They played it really safe, being that first seed. I don't really think it was a first seed curse or anything like that. I just think they tried to play it too conservatively with that. They eventually did change some of their comps overall and were okay for their own standards, but outside of that comeback against Genji, which they probably should have lost, with how they were playing up until that point, like they played legitimately perfectly once Genji got to 11-6, but like outside of that in that game, they didn't play very well. Against Fnatic, they didn't play very well. I just think this team needs to kind of overhaul their read on the meta. Jogamo needs to play better. I think Jonah P needs to play better individually as well. But with your Leaf, Ballon, and Trent, I think those guys are definitely in a really good spot and should be very good on this G2 team. But yeah, with that, that's the power rankings for this video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And I will see you guys in the next one, probably for either Pacific or EMEA, or this video might come out after those ones. So I'll probably upload it first though, because I'm recording it first. So this one will come out first. I'll say that. So go pay attention for my Pacific and EMEA videos. If you're only interested in Americas, I will have a predictions video coming out the day before Americas starts. So stay tuned for that. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.